Part 159. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1581. Chapter 1581 Tanyush's Funeral 3. Qian Yuman watched the scene with pain and disbelief, watching Tanyush's body slowly disappear, leaving only a little bit of ashes in the end. How could it be possible? How could this be possible? Impossible. Impossible. Qian Yuman lay stupidly on the glass, staring at Tanyush, who no longer existed, or rather existed in another form. Heartbroken and in pain, it was impossible to describe her inner emotions at this moment. Even if the sky falls, she will not collapse because Tanyush is there to hold her up. So now that Tanyush is gone, what does it have to do with her if the sky falls? This colorful world has turned into black and white. No amount of laughter and laughter will turn into a terrifying existence. When Qian Yuman was immersed in sadness, behind Qian Yuman, the staff member just now silently took out his mobile phone, took a picture of Tanyush and Qian Yuman's last look, which would never be seen again, and sent the photo to people from afar. In a luxurious villa, a gloomy-looking man received a flurry of photos. Tanyush is about to be cremated and Qian Yuman is in pain. Damn it, the person smashed the photo in his hand on the ground. He vented his anger and instantly tore the phone into pieces. Even repairs could not save it. Husband, look at the good things you have done. The person who roared angrily was the boss of the Waji organization that Tanyush and the others had been looking for a long time. When he received the news of Tanyush's death, he was more shocked than anyone else. He raised his foot and kicked his heart and soul as hard as he could, wishing to kick the person to death. Boss, I didn't expect that Tanyush would die. I clearly told them to be careful not to hurt Tanyush, but I didn't expect that he would die like this. Arnold Kate, the second in command of the Waji organization and the former 8th chairman of the Fortune Group, was kicked away by the boss, and then walked to him on his knees and continued to confess. What's the use of you talking more nonsense? My plan has been disrupted by your action. How many times have I said that Tanyush cannot be killed, but you just can't listen. It's okay now, everyone is dead, you let me. How will I carry out my revenge later? All of my subordinates deserve death. Tanyush is already dead. What can they do if they continue to quibble? Tanyush is already dead. No matter how much they say, they can't bring Tanyush back to life. He is just a pile of ashes now and can do nothing more. You people, you are more likely to fail than succeed. I told you to slowly torture Tanyush little by little, but now you are dead. The boss of the Waji organization was furious. Tanyush's death did not bring him the greatest pleasure. He was even the person in the world who wanted Tanyush to live the most. As long as he lives, he can slowly torture Tanyush little by little, and finally make him worse than death. All the relatives around him will be frightened and miserable, leaving him alone. Boss, what should we do? It's about revenge. I will think of another way. After Tanyush is dead, some things become boring. He sighed deeply. What's the point of being angry with a dead man? But he was unwilling to give in. After planning for so long, one move went wrong, reducing the retaliation many times. The side door of the villa was slowly pushed open, and a weak woman walked out, with astonishment written on her face. What did you just say? Who died? Is Yuj dead? Are you talking about my Yuj? Ha. How could it really be the finale? How could it be possible that it still needs to be tortured? Besides, I'm not a stepmother, no. My absolute mother. You have to believe me. Aren't you very tired when you meet such a wicked author? If you want a male protagonist or not, just vote for new book. Ha. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1582. Chapter 1582 Tanyu's funeral 4. The woman walked quickly to Boswaji. She had only walked a few steps when she was breathing quickly and her face turned a little pale. Why are you out? Go back and rest quickly. Tell me, were you just talking about Yu's death? The woman excitedly grabbed the arm of the boss of the Waji organization and shook it vigorously. What are you doing standing still? Why don't you help my wife to rest? Someone from the Waji organization yelled at the servant. I won't go to rest unless you tell me the truth. What's wrong with Yuj? The boss of the Waji organization kept silent and glared at the servant. The servant came forward and took the woman to rest forcibly. The woman was already weak, so she was taken away after being pulled a few times. At the same time, the woman also understood that she heard correctly just now. They were saying that Tanyuj was dead, dead. Qian Yuman held the urn in both hands and walked in the cemetery step by step. Today the weather is very good, cloudless, the sky is as blue as in the painting, the air is still filled with the fragrance of flowers, the breeze is blowing gently, it is very comfortable, and it is easy for people to relax. It was such a good weather day, but Qian Yuman had to go to the cemetery carrying the ashes of her beloved. There were no tears on her face, and her expression was cold and numb. After watching Tanyuj being cremated, she did not cry or get angry. She quietly held Tanyuj's ashes, left the crematorium, and went to the cemetery to bury Tanyuj. Holding the ashes in her arms, she always had the illusion that it was not Tanyuj, but that her husband was still at home waiting for her to cook for him when she returned. The two sons at home have already started to make trouble, saying that she only knows how to be with her husband and abandons them to go out to play. Ah! What a heartwarming picture. However, this was just her escape idea. She had to accept that Tanyuj was no longer in the world. She watched him turn into ashes in her arms with her own eyes. He had left her, completely left her. Her husband is gone, what's the point of her still being alive? But there was still his posthumous child in her belly, so she couldn't follow him. Mr. Tang would blame her. Mr. Tang. Sugar baby. Candied Haws. My little Tang Tang, why are you willing to leave like this? You obviously promised me that you would accompany me throughout the entire pregnancy process, accompany me in delivery, accompany me during confinement, and accompany my child to grow up day by day. You obviously had a hookup with me, why did you abandon me so cruelly without keeping your word? However, even though she no longer wants to live, she still has to persevere. For the sake of her children, she cannot collapse and must be strong. However, it is really difficult to be strong. Gently place the urn into the cemetery, stand up, and watch them complete all subsequent work. She seemed to have lost her soul, standing in front of the tombstone, looking at Tanyuj's tombstone and his photo on the tombstone. He looked so handsome and charming in the photo. There were many people attending the funeral today, all of whom were Tanyuj's closest friends. 3 of his close friends, Lan Tianlu, Chang Junyi, and Ji Fan, came with their wives. Murongye also came with Qi Liliai, and her parents came too. Chao Xiaofeng and his wife in the house also came. Everyone is here to see Tanyuj off for the last time, to see this former friend for the last time and say his final farewell. A white rose was placed in front of the tombstone. Everyone couldn't help but say the last words to Tanyuj. Ji Fan even cursed at the tombstone, scolding him for leaving immediately. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1583. Chapter 1583 Tanyuj's Funeral 5. Lan Tianlu doesn't talk much, but he speaks touching words. Let's be brothers again in the next life. Chang Junyi said that it has been a good journey, and we will walk together on the road to in the next life. Yes. This farewell can only be seen again in the next life. Everyone understands this. The whole funeral was very heavy and depressing. The female relatives almost burst into tears and used crying to vent their emotions. Only Qian Yuman did not cry. She did not react to anything happening around her and looked at Tang Yu's tombstone expressionlessly. It was like the person buried under the tombstone was not her husband, not the person she loved most, but someone else. This is the look on her face after she got Tang Yu's ashes. On the contrary, everyone was more worried about her because of her appearance. They even sent people to keep an eye on her, fearing that she would be confused. They would rather she cry loudly and be sad and painful, instead of looking like this, with no desire or pain, eyes lifeless, standing blankly, not speaking, not making a sound, as if nothing exists around her, only Tang Yu's tombstone stands in front of her. The funeral was over, and all the relatives and friends who could be present came to see Tang Yu off for the last time, and said some words of comfort. No one was willing to leave just now, especially Qian Yuman. Everyone knew that she should be left to get along well with Tang Yu. They have been separated in this life, and there are too many words to say. Even Tang Yu didn't have time to see his third child born. Everyone left silently, leaving only Yun Duo to protect her safety. Qian Yuman walked slowly towards the tombstone, knelt on the ground, reached out and gently touched the black and white photo on the tombstone, with a sad smile on her lips. "Mr. Tang, when will the wedding you owe me be held?" The voice was gentle, not just any fluctuations, but hearing it in Yun Duo's ears made her feel sad. His eyes turned red, and he almost couldn't hold back the tears. Qian Yuman leaned over the tombstone, her beautiful face pressed against the cold tombstone, and the sad smile on her lips never faded. "It seems that it can only be held in a dream. How about tonight? Come to my dream tonight and hold our unfinished wedding. If you don't come, don't blame me for blaming you." "Okay. I admit, I can't blame you. If you are tired, don't come. You just need to wait for me in the underworld. When I find you, we can hold the wedding again. I know you don't want to leave either, and I don't blame you, really. Who asked me to love you?" Tears, finally uncontrollable, slipped from her face and flowed onto the tombstone, moistening the tombstone, but it was evaporated by the sun and disappeared without a trace. Yunduo turned around uncomfortably, no longer looking at this heart-wrenching scene. "Mr. Tang, look at the good things you have done." Qian Yuman lay on the tombstone for a long time, gradually falling asleep in the gentle breeze. In the dream, Tang Yu appeared, stretched out his hand, and said with a smile, "He is here and will not leave this time." In the dream, they held a wedding that attracted worldwide attention. They looked so happy that people all over the world were envious. Tang Yu in the dream was still extremely handsome. He kissed her red lips tenderly and made a vow to make her the happiest woman in the world. As soon as the scene turned, she came to the cemetery again, looked at the tombstone not far away, rushed over, hugged his tombstone and cried. By then, she was already gray-haired and would come to see him every month. In the dream, she cried and howled that he had not come to see her in the dream for a year. Why was he so cruel? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1584. Chapter 1584 Wife, wait for me. In the dream, she cried and howled that he had not come to see her in the dream for a year. Why was he so cruel? She was lying on the tombstone like a watchstone. The breeze blew slowly, messing up her hair. Tang Yu, wearing a purple suit, appeared next to her. A pair of gentle palms gently caressed her face, with remorse in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Qian'er. I will return. Wait for me." The voice was full of affectionate tenderness. Those slender hands carefully touched Jian Yuman, who was lying on the tombstone. As if she was afraid of something, he changed his hands to wrap around her hair. Sorry. He leaned over and kissed her on the forehead. In the hazy state, Jian Yuman seemed to be afraid that he would leave, and suddenly reached out to grab Tang Yuj in front of her, but when he opened his eyes, he saw nothing. Where is Tang Yuj's figure? The kiss he had just placed on his forehead was still left on his forehead. It was so real that he suspected that the time together was not a dream, but a reality. The dream just now was so real. Why does Mr. Tang keep saying sorry? She also said she would come back and asked her to wait for her? Could it be that Mr. Tang is still there? Jian Yuman looked around and finally saw Yun Duo standing 3 meters away. She stood up slowly, holding onto the tombstone. Having been sitting on the ground for too long, my legs are a little numb. Jian Yuman walked over, took Yun Duo's hand, and looked at her with burning eyes. Did Mr. Tang come just now? What? Yun Duo looked at Jian Yuman with a blank expression. There's none. Are you dreaming? I don't see anyone else here except you and me. That's it? Jian Yuman's burning eyes dimmed instantly, and she let go of her hands in despair, hanging on both sides of her body, like a body that had lost its soul. Yes. How could it be Mr. Tang? She clearly watched him being cremated. How could he still be alive? That was just a very beautiful dream, a dream that he invited. They have been separated forever. Manman, are you okay? It's okay. Jian Yuman smiled sadly, turned around and returned to the tombstone. I'll stay a little longer. She shed tears silently, recalling the details of the dream just now, thinking too much and just immersed in the dream. Jian Yuman, who came back from the cemetery, was eating, drinking, and reading as usual, like a normal person. The next 10 days were neither sad nor happy, which was worrying. Jian Yuman's reaction was like a warning sign, and her relatives and friends could only be anxious and try their best to make her happy. I wonder who can withstand successive blows. First, his son disappeared, and now his husband passed away. He was obviously a happy person, but he experienced ups and downs in just half a month. Ruru also arrived in London to accompany Jian Yuman. But the little girl was immersed in the pain of losing her father. She was so sad that she kept pouting and clamoring for daddy all day long. How could she comfort Jian Yuman? However, Ruru's presence at least diverted Jian Yuman's attention, and she would accompany her daughter and take care of her daughter's daily life. But everyone still didn't trust her. Yun Duo was always with her, Chao Xiaofeng couldn't stay with her often during her confinement period, and Qi Lile didn't know what she was busy with, so she went out early and came back late. 3 days after Tang Yuz's accident, Jian Yuman called everyone and announced a news to everyone who cared about her. I decided to go to Africa tomorrow to find little Mickey. Monthly ticket. Slap the table. Monthly ticket. Please give me a reward. If you give a lot of rewards, Mr. Tang will be resurrected. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1585. Chapter 1585. Going to Africa to find his son 1. I decided to go to Africa tomorrow to find little Mickey. No, Qi Lili, I refused directly. I must go, Jian Yuman said firmly. I want to find little Mickey in person. He has been missing for more than 20 days. The people sent by Mr. Tang have not heard much about him yet. I have nothing to do in London. Jian Yuman has decided to go to Africa to find little Mickey in person. She has lost Mr. Tang and doesn't want to be without little Mickey anymore. Mommy, I want to find my brother too. Ruru hugged Jian Yuman's thigh and looked at her hopefully. Okay, Jian Yuman's eyes were a little gentle, and she knelt down and held the child in her arms. Now when she sees Ruru's face, she will think of Tang Yuj, and her heart will hurt violently when she thinks of Tang Yuj. Ruru looks so much like Tang Yuj, she will definitely be a beauty when she grows up. She was not the only one who lost her father and brother, but also her beloved daughter. Ruru didn't have a father before she was 3 years old, and he didn't grow up with her. Compared to her, she was even more pitiful. She can't be so weak and sad at home every day. She has to go out and do something. She still has to live without Mr. Tang, she has to take care of her daughter, she has to find her son, and she has to give birth to the child in her belly. The children have lost their father and cannot live without their mother. After 2 consecutive days of insomnia, she finally figured out a lot of things last night and fell asleep easily. After waking up, she called everyone over to discuss her going to Africa. "We don't agree." Chao Xiaofeng held the infant child and shook her head firmly. "We don't worry about you being pregnant, and the Wuji organization hasn't caught you yet. Who knows what will happen if you go out? After all, Africa is not our territory, so what if something happens to you?" Qian Yuman's attitude is still firm. No matter how they persuade her, they can't change her mind. "I'm looking for someone, not fighting, so just be careful. Besides, isn't it safest to hide at home every day? Didn't something happen to Mr. Tang in London? So the result is that it's not safe wherever you go. Yes, going to Africa might be more troublesome. As Qian Yuman said, it may be safer in Africa. The country where Little Mickey in Africa last appeared is relatively backward. No matter how widespread the Wuji organization is, I believe it will have no power in poor Africa. If they send people to Africa with different skin colors and appear around them, it will be easy to find that as long as powerful people are sent to protect Qian Yuman, it is difficult for Qian Yuman to be harmed by people from the Wuji organization. "Sister, do you really want to go?" Qi Lili. "I was still worried. I'm going, believe me, I'm not as fragile as you think." Qian Yuman looked at her belly that was less than 2 months old with gentle eyes. "I still want to get my brother back for the children." The others looked at each other, knowing that no matter how hard they tried to persuade, Qian Yuman became stubborn and couldn't pull back 10 cows. On the contrary, it was a good thing that she went to Africa. At least she was not hiding at home and feeling sad, fearing that she would do something stupid. Instead, she had something to do and a goal to help her survive the pain of losing Tang Yuj. Finally, due to the previous insistence, everyone agreed that Qian Yuman would go to Africa. Tang Yuj's good brother Chang Junyi heard that Qian Yuman was going and directly sent a mercenary group to protect her. Chang Junyi makes military weapons, and his mercenary group is also unparalleled in power. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1586. Chapter 1586. Going to Africa to find his son too. With the protection of Chang Junyi's mercenary group, I believe that Qian Yuman's safety in Africa has been guaranteed to the greatest extent. Because something happened to Tang Yuj, the safety issue of the Tang family has been upgraded to a higher level. Even Su Warong sent troops to protect the Tang family after learning about it. It's not that Qian Yuman can't refuse to send people from the army to Africa, he might also send an army to protect Qian Yuman's safety. What everyone is most concerned about now is Qian Yuman's safety. Because something happened to Tang Yuj, the retaliation against the Wuji organization has reached a terrifying level. Lan Tianlu's power, her wife Xiao Ling's status as a princess, Ji Fan, Chang Junyi, and others have all joined in the retaliation. As the son of the richest man, Kenny naturally spared no effort. Even Wang Tianyu also used the power of his eastern group to jointly attack. These are all top-notch beings in their respective fields. If everyone joins together, even a powerful country cannot withstand this level of revenge. In less than a week, All the forces known to the WG organization were in a state of collapse and were scarred, shaking their foundations to a certain extent. They were waiting for the boss of the mysterious WG organization to be frightened and then jump out. But the people on the other side didn't seem to be afraid at all. They never came out. They watched their property being annexed by them without even showing up. Yunduo, as Qianyuman's personal bodyguard, will naturally accompany him to Africa to protect Qianyuman's safety. African country G is where Little Mickey's helicopter originally appeared. Because it is very backward, it is very difficult to investigate where Little Mickey was transferred. Xianying had come to investigate a long time ago. After Qianyuman went to London, Murong 11 also rushed over personally to find the whereabouts of Little Mickey with Xianying. Murong 11 said that since she had nothing to do, she might as well help find Little Mickey together. For so many years, she has always felt a little guilty towards Qianyuman, both for what she said back then and for her subsequent unwillingness to return Ruru to her. So, after something happened to Qianyuman and the others, she went to Africa to help search for them. It wasn't until I heard that something happened to Tangyuj that I rushed to London. It was also because of seeing the Tand Murong 11 that Qianyuman decided to come to Africa together. He and Murong 11 took the plane to country G together. On the plane, Qianyuman held Murong 11's hand and said touchedly, "Xiao 11, thank you for helping me find Little Mickey. You can see he's even tanned." Murong 11 shook his head, tried his best to force a smile from his face, and said comfortingly, "It's all little things." Murong 11, who had loved Tangyuj for many years, was heartbroken, but no matter how sad she was, she couldn't compare to Qianyuman. Qianyuman can be so strong, why does she keep falling in love with pain? So, after she attended Tangyuj's funeral, she still had to go find Little Mickey and couldn't give up halfway. "Sister Murong, I admit that I had some resentment towards you at the beginning, but from this moment, it all disappeared." Qianyuman said with a smile and called Murong 11 Sister Murong again. That's what she called her back then. Later, she thought she and Tangyuj were in true love, so she never called her sister Murong affectionately again. Now that Mr. Tang is gone, and with Murong 11's various actions, she can't feel any hatred. Now she is full of emotion. She had no responsibility to help find Mickey Mouse, but she helped without asking for anything in return. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1587. Chapter 1587 Going to Africa to find his son 3. The plane landed safely, and Xianying, who had been waiting under the plane for a long time, was looking forward to it. As soon as I saw Qianyuman getting off the plane, her face, which was obviously already 3 years old, still looked like a young man who was almost 20 years old, and I felt jealous in my heart. She used to feel like a sister when she was with Xianying, but now she feels that she is 5 or 6 years older than him. Xianying rushed towards Qianyuman quickly, and held Qianyuman in his arms with enthusiasm. "Xiao Qian, I miss you so much, you didn't even know you came to see me, woo-hoo-hoo." Xianying still speaks his broken Chinese. "Ying, you're going to pinch me to death." Qianyuman couldn't bear to pat him. "Long time no see, why don't you let me hug you for a few times?" Xianying hugged her even more enthusiastically, almost holding Qianyuman in a circle. Murong 11, who was standing behind Qianyuman and holding Ruru in hand, snorted hard and walked quickly towards the car behind Xianying. "Love." Zixi Xianying noticed Murong 11, finally let go of Qianyuman, and shouted to Murong 11. "Some time ago, I was looking for Little Mickey." Xianying and Murong 11 got along more and more. The relationship between the two changed from the nodding acquaintance before. When I wanted to ask Murong 11 to ride in my car, I was pulled by Qianyuman. "Ying, are you black?" Qian Yuman pulled Xian Yingzhi and looked up and down. Sure enough, she saw that Xian Yingzhi's skin was fairer than hers, and his skin turned a healthy wheat color. Being interrupted by Qian Yuman, Xian Yingzhi forgot to invite Murong 11 and pointed at his poor skin. I've been running around a lot during this period, and I'm so tan that I'm almost baked. Xian Yingzhi covered his face with his hands and slowly pulled them down. His expression looked as troubled as possible. Okay, the black Yingzhi is also very handsome. Qian Yuman comforted Xian Yingzhi's injured heart, fearing that if she continued to speak, he might cry to her. Let's go, I've prepared local flavors and I'll give you a feast today. Xian Yingzhi enthusiastically pulled Qian Yuman, stuffed her into the passenger seat, quickly walked around and sat in the main driver's seat. Before entering, he saw Murong 11 looking at Xian Yingzhi a little indifferently in the car behind him, then turned towards him and closed the window. Xian Yingzhi pursed his lips, sat in the driver's seat, and chatted happily with Qian Yuman. Xiao Qian, come to think of it, in this fast-growing area of South Africa, I am considered a host. I know where to eat delicious food and what you must not eat. You don't even know how many dark dishes there are here. I'll crawl all over the place when I see them. When he first came here, he didn't even know what some of the food was. He stuffed it into his mouth and ate it and it felt so unpalatable. Now that he knew what it was made of, his intestines turned green with regret. He was so scared that he didn't dare to eat anything for a few days. Stuff, and lost several pounds because of it. It's all up to you, Qian Yuman said lightly. Xian Yingzhi looked at her with small eyes while driving, and chattered about the fun places in South Africa and the delicious food. His concerned eyes fell on her from time to time. He discovered that Qian Yuman's personality, whom he hadn't seen for several months, had changed a lot. In the past, she was always smiling, sometimes a bit mean, and rarely bothered by things. But when I saw her again today, the corners of her mouth twitched slightly at first, but she didn't even show a smile. Tang Yu's departure really hit her hard, and she couldn't even smile happily when she saw him. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1588. Chapter 1588 Illusion. He must make Xiao Qian happy again and return to his previous appearance. Kindness. That's right. That's it. Xian Yingzhi silently made his decision in his heart. He still chattered a lot about local customs and interesting things, trying to make the atmosphere cheerful. He didn't mind becoming a talkative person like Murong Ye, but at least he didn't talk as much nonsense as Murong Ye. As the car sped along, Qian Yuman looked at the scenery outside the car window and fell into a trance. In South Africa, no matter how developed the city is, it cannot compare with City S. Especially the place they came from was so backward that there were no roads at all, and they had to rely on people and cars to drive on Loess roads. The endless grassland or Loess is the scenery here. After driving for a while, we reached the city, where we saw high-rise buildings. The buildings in the city are not bad, they are on the scale of a fourth-tier city in China. The streets are full of black people, and there are almost no people with other skin colors at a glance. She also knows a little about the language of this country, and can have simple conversations no problem. She just learned it casually for a few months out of boredom, but she never thought that one day she would be able to use it. Just let her choose, she would rather not have the chance to come, and her son would not be missing, and she would not come to this backward country. Ulu. Qian Yuman's stomach growled a little lonely, and Qian Yuman's face turned slightly red. Xiao Qian, are you hungry? No. Didn't you hear your stomach scolding you? I heard it all, Xian Yingzhi said seriously, and was amused by his own adjectives after he finished speaking. My child is hungry. Is he calling me? Xian Yingzhi looked at Qian Yuman's belly from time to time. He is only a few months old, how can he talk? I admit that I am hungry, So please take me to eat delicious food quickly. Jian Yuman was in a much better mood after being teased by Xian Yingzhi a few times, unconsciously showing a faint smile. Xian Yingzhi also looked carefully and saw the short-lived smile, and then he smiled happily. Sure enough, Xiao Qian's heart is different from that of his immortal Yingzhi. Why? What a pity. Tang Yuzhi left, but he had no intention of pursuing Jian Yuman's idea. Xian Yingzhi had long discovered that he had feelings for Jian Yuman that went beyond friendship, and he had a crush on her. But knowing that she was married, I kept this love in a small corner of my heart. His feelings are not as strong as Kenny's, nor are they like Wang Tianyu, who keeps telling Jian Yuman that he likes her. His feelings for Jian Yuman are family affection, friendship, and love, and he is not necessarily in love with Jian Yuman. Thoughts together. Anyway, I just like her and don't want to make any practical progress. The current model is not bad. Not all relationships require results, he is just a very casual person. Stop. Jian Yuman suddenly patted Jian Yuman and looked outside with burning eyes. Xian Yingzhi braked suddenly. Jian Yuman unbuckled his seat belt and ran outside. She was shocked when she saw a yellow-skinned little boy not far away, whose build and height were similar to her son's. She had just glanced at him briefly in the car. Did you find your son? So fast? It was so fast that she felt miraculous. Maybe God felt sorry for her and wanted to return her son to her. Jian Yuman ran towards the little boy quickly, ran over and hugged the little boy from behind. Little Mickey, Mommy's good boy. Your Majesty recently went to see a doctor. I need a minor surgery. However, in order not to delay the coding, His Majesty postponed it for a while to save some manuscripts before performing minor surgery. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1589. Chapter 1589. Mother and son meet. 1. And %& and, asterisk and $%. The little boy hugged by Jian Yuman struggled violently and shouted in horror at his mother, who was not far away. When the little boy's mother heard her son's cry, she noticed that her child was being held by a beautiful young woman. The child had been struggling in her arms, and the joy on the woman's face made her a little confused. Hey, who are you and why are you holding my son? The woman spoke the language of country. Jian Yuman happened to understand a little bit, and then she realized something was wrong. She gently let go of the child. In fact, when the child screamed, she realized something was wrong, but she did not confirm whether the child was her own. When Jian Yuman saw clearly the appearance of the little boy in front of her, her eyes were filled with disappointment. This little boy was really not her son. I'm sorry. Jian Yuman stood up, bowed deeply, and then turned around and left in despair. The mother of the little boy took the child into her arms and looked at her inexplicably. Inexplicable woman, son, let's go. Xian Yingzhi ran over and saw Jian Yuman's disappointed look. He reached out and patted her back gently. Xiao Jian, don't be sad. He also saw their conversation just now. It's okay, I just recognized the wrong person. I said, how could I be so lucky? I could find my son as soon as I got here. I'm not the goddess of luck. She was even unlucky. The child will always find it? I hope so. Jian Yuman smiled slightly and looked at the little boy who had left not far away. From the back, he really looks like little Mickey. Little Mickey, Mommy will definitely find you. After Xian Yingzhi took Jian Yuman to eat, she went back to her room to rest. Starting tomorrow, she would take a car to travel to various tribes around her. The people sent before have already investigated the surrounding tribes one by one. The whole country is only that big, and the investigation will take time. As long as little Mickey is still in Africa, as long as he is still alive and well, he will be found. Qian Yuman will also go there in person, but in order to be more comfortable and prevent herself from being too tired, she drove the most luxurious RV Tanyuj bought for her on the trip, which can be used as an off-road vehicle or a house. She will personally go to each tribe to find little Mickey. Finding people will take time, and she is mentally prepared. What makes her feel gratified is that the bodyguard Yun Duo sent to her by Tanyuj has very good medical skills. Having Yun Duo is like having a personal doctor by her side. If anything happens to her body, she will be there to take care of her. After 2 days of rest, Qian Yuman started the journey to find her son. Xian Yingzhi and Murong 11 were with her, accompanying Qian Yuman in the search. They didn't find someone very quickly. They wanted to take care of Qian Yuman's physical endurance. After all, he was her child. They searched for half a month without finding little Mickey. They had already searched for more than a dozen tribes, and with other people, 2/3 of the tribes in South Africa had been harassed by them. Qian Yuman's heart was hanging in the air for half a month. She was afraid that they had searched all the tribes and still couldn't find little Mickey. On this day, they came to a very backward tribe. There were not many tribesmen. They saw several cars driving towards them, and everyone was very wary. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1590. Chapter 1590 Mother and son meet too. On this day, they came to a very backward tribe. There were not many tribesmen. They saw several cars driving towards them, and everyone was very wary. I'm a little tired. Qian Yuman lay on the bed uncomfortably, not wanting to move. After half a day of searching for someone, her physical strength was already too much. Hearing that Qian Yi was tired and looked very weak, Xian Yingzhi jumped over quickly and looked at his situation carefully. Xiao Qian, are you okay? Are you feeling unwell? Yunduo, come and see her. Yunduo immediately came over with a bunch of inspection instruments, leaving Qian Yuman speechless. It's okay. I'm just a little tired. I'll lie on the bed and rest for a while. Really? No, we still need to check. Xian Yingzhi pulled Yunduo and urged her to hurry up. Yes. You'd better listen to him and check him carefully. If you don't check him, this man will go crazy, Murong 11 interjected at the side. His tone of voice was a bit chilly, and Xian Yingzhi couldn't help but look at her a few more times. I wanted to say something, but in the end I didn't say it. Because Murong 11 had already coldly snorted at him and got out of the car, with such a condescending attitude that he was speechless. Qian Yuman asked Yunduo to check her body. She couldn't help but look at Xian Yingzhi and Murong 11 a few more times, and looked at Xian Yingzhi in confusion. Yingzhi, do you have any conflicts? During this period of time, Qian Yuman always felt that there was something wrong between Xian Yingzhi and Murong 11. Murong 11's attitude towards Xian Yingzhi was very indifferent, even a little indifferent, and sometimes even choked him with her words. Xian Yingzhi looked like he couldn't be happy with anything he did. I don't know. Xian Yingzhi scratched his head blankly. I sometimes dare not talk to her. This time when she came back from London, she became very strange. Xian Yingzhi was helpless and went to talk to her, but hit a wall several times. How were we getting along before? Very good. Xian Yingzhi nodded wildly. It's been bad lately. This is what it looks like. Qian Yuman looked meaningfully at Murong 11 outside the car window. Seeing her stamping her feet on the ground in annoyance, venting her anger, her eyes deepened. There is definitely something fishy between these two people. Accidentally, the matchmaker's blood in Qian Yuman's body began to burn fiercely. Based on her experience in matching countless couples, there was definitely something wrong with these two people. Yunduo breathed a sigh of relief after checking a bunch of things. Manman's health is fine, but she lacks rest these days. Let's rest in this tribe for a few days. After Manman's body recovers, we can continue to look for little Mickey. Okay, Jian Yuman nodded. She needed to rest for 2 days. Everyone stopped disturbing Jian Yuman and gave her some time to rest. They got out of the car and went to the tribe to inquire about little Mickey. Xian Ying saw a very cute little girl not far away and walked over with a smile. The little girl Gina was so frightened when she saw so many strange people that she quickly hid behind her mother. Mom, these people have the same skin color as little Mickey. The blonde one actually has white skin and blonde hair. How strange. Follow your mother and don't come into contact with them. I heard that people with fair skin and blonde hair would kidnap strong men in the past. Don't let these people kidnap you. Okay Mom, Gina hid behind her mother, but she still couldn't help but poke her head out to look at Xian Ying and the others. This little girl is the little girl Gina who met little Mickey not long ago. End of this chapter.